We're back today with Cesar Ybarra, FreedomWorks' VP of Policy. Cesar, you've been following the Inflation Reduction Act, or whatever you call it. The big bad bill is what we're calling it here at FreedomWorks. But I don't know if you saw a moment ago on Twitter, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre went and said that there was 0% inflation in the month of July. So why are we passing an Inflation Reduction Act if apparently that's the case?
Well, and again, it just shows how terrible Karine Jean-Pierre is. I'm sure there's a lot of talent out there in the Democrat bench to hire a competent press secretary, but she could have just said inflation went down by 0.5 percentage point. Like, let's take the win, right? But no, like, she's still she's still shilling for this terrible bill, which even Bernie Sanders said on the Senate floor that it was not going to it was not going to have any impact on inflation. So from our standpoint, if anything, this bill is only going to make inflation worse if it's going to have any impact at all on inflation.
Yeah, and it seemed like the bill in general is just kind of a wish list of Democrat ideas all thrown together, and then they just put a label on it and said, oh, it's inflation reduction.
Well, let's not forget, all of these ideas in the bill, they're all stemming from the original big government socialism bill. Remember that
Build Back Better is what they called it.
Build Back Better, right? So this is pretty much Build Back Better skinny. So this is what they finally were able to come up with. This was what was able to get 51 votes in the Senate, or 50 plus the vice president's vote.
We stayed up all night on Saturday watching that.
Tracking it. That was a lot of fun. Thank you for staying up and trooping it. But now the fight goes to the House of Representatives. I think the message I think the fact that the Biden administration wants to hire 87,000 new IRS agents, that's not resonating well with people, and I'm not too sure. I mean, we got to continue talking about this over the next 72 hours to make sure that people in these vulnerable seats, like in Texas, out in Maine, that they have to explain to their constituents why they want to hire 87,000 new IRS agents to go and harass them.
And the IRS said, oh, no. They came out with a statement yesterday saying, oh, no, we're not actually going to go after, they said, middle-income people. You've heard this lie from government agencies before. Those 87,000 agents, they're supposed to be going after billionaires or something like that. They're going to be going after your taxes at the end of the day.
That's exactly right. And again, right, like the billionaires, they have tax accountants. They have very capable and competent tax attorneys that are going to be able to handle this for them. But guess who cannot afford those types of lawyers and legal teams? Everyday Americans, exactly.
Down the neck by IRS agents.
That's exactly right. So again, this is not resonating. Coupled that with the fact that we're still at a 4-year inflation high, I'm just not sure what the Democrats can be selling going into November.
And this thing, the cake is already baked here. This is going to pass the House, and Biden's going to sign it into law. He's trying to get a legislative victory out of this, and it's been an administration that's been starved for real legislative victories. We've seen a couple other things lately, though. What was it, like the CHIPS Act, the PAC Act, a couple other things that they were able to pass. Talk about those. Yeah,
so the CHIPS Act, obviously, it's a corporate welfare, $52 billion subsidy for the semiconductor industry, plus a bunch of other billions of dollars for investment in research and development, etc. This is a terrible bill. Like this bill was ostensibly proposed and passed to compete against China. But this bill, we know that in fact it's not going to help us compete in China. It's not going to bring any of those jobs back to America. All we're doing is giving money to these big corporate giants for them to, I guess, invest in America. But again, how can you compete with China when you're acting like China by subsidizing the national security apparatus, right?
Yeah.
So
these corporations that have came out on top after the entire COVID pandemic. I mean, if anything, Democrats talk about how they're trying to help the little guy, but everything that they've tried to pass has really benefited large corporations.
That's exactly right.
Corporate welfare.
So yes, you can argue that was a victory for the Biden administration, but let's not forget that this bill would not have passed without 60 votes in the Senate. So it took a lot of play from Republicans, that's a separate conversation. But the larger point,
this is CHIPS Act.
This is CHIPS Act, and you also have the PACT Act, which is like $400 billion in mandatory spending for veteran services, and again, not that that's not warranted or fine, but we cannot make a fool out of ourselves as conservatives and say, well, we agree with this, therefore spending is not an issue there.
Sure. I mean,
right?
there's nuance to this that I think is lost. I mean, Democrats are happy to portray Republicans as, they don't want to help out veterans. I think we all want to do that. Every Republican wants to do that. But it's the fact that they made this mandatory spending.
Exactly.
It's not, there's a way to do this, and there's a wrong way to do this.
That's exactly right. So again, I mean, from the American Rescue Plan Act to the soon-to-be law Inflation Reduction Act, hopefully I'm wrong, but it's most likely going to be law. I mean, the Congress has spent trillions of dollars in government spending, and yet they claim that they're going to cap it off with this Inflation Reduction Act. I mean, it's a culmination of 2 years of government spending that has made inflation this bad, and now they want to top it off with the Inflation Reduction Act. Like,
we're going to reduce it by spending a little bit more at the end here, in our last chance before Republicans take the House.
So exactly. So I mean, this is a lame duck play. They know they're going to get crushed in the midterms. So,
which also brings up. Everyone's seen what happened with the FBI raiding, or if you want to call it a raid, they're saying it wasn't a raid, actually, just like how they're renaming everything else these days. Went and raided Trump's residence in Florida, Mar-a-Lago. And I think my inkling here is that this was somewhat politicized, if I could maybe say that.
Yeah.
Political hit job.
Exactly, like a lot of these prosecutors, they have prosecutorial discretion. I don't want to get too much into the legalese, but someone made the decision and said, yes, go out and execute this warrant on the president. I mean, this is unprecedented. I really have no words. I mean, I think we still need to sort of digest what has happened and the implications of what that are going to be. But it doesn't look good. You couple that with the FBI taking the phone from Scott Perry, the chairman of the Freedom Caucus. Maybe they're for unrelated reasons, both of them. But the point is, the deep state is coming hard after conservatives. And what are we going to do to push back? Yes, we can haul in the DOJ leadership into Congress and demand answers and do our speeches and all of that, but what does that accomplish?
Like, no more hearings.
No more hearings.
Have some action on this.
Is Director Wray? Are they going to impeach Director Wray? Are they going to impeach Merrick Garland? There need to be scalps on this. Like the grassroots, the voters, they want to see accountability, and accountability does not mean hearings. It means someone at the very least getting fired.
Yeah, exactly. Holding these people accountable and actually going in and overhauling these bureaucratic agencies. I mean, this is something that really impeded President Trump when he came in 2016. I mean, there's, of course, all sorts of reasons there, but you have, just deep state actors who are preventing, any kind of small government or conservative president from actually accomplishing anything in their agenda. And that's really what we need, is total overhaul. Yeah.
So the important thing to keep in mind here is Kevin McCarthy, if he's speaker, he's going to own or have the power of the purse at his disposal. So how is he going to use that? How is he going to use it at the time when it comes to fund the DOJ and the FBI for the next fiscal year? Is he going to say, well, if you guys want your funding for this fiscal year, we want to see these reforms. We want answers on what you guys did. If not, then either you guys don't get your funding, we'll shut down your agencies over this until we get those reforms that we want.
Absolutely. And I think that this is also just an opportunity for Democrats, talking about the FBI raid. They need any way they can to deflect from what the overall state of affairs in this country is. I mean, inflation's still really high. The border's a mess. We're coming up on a year after Afghanistan, and what a horrible botched withdrawal that was. They need anything they can to deflect from that, and I think they want to make it all about Trump. Yeah.
Democrats don't have anything else but sort of make us own Trump's, whatever he's going through. They want to make us own that. So we're not going to stand for it. We know what those attacks against President Trump mean and why they're doing it. It's our job to make sure that what are those issues that are affecting folks back home, outside of the Beltway. We're still at a 40-year inflation high. I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time.
We've been talking about it being high for months now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not good.
This is still a pressing issue. Go down to the border. It's still a disaster. That's what people care about. So we can sit down and roll over the FBI and the DOJ. Yes, that's a problem, but in real America, people care about the high prices and the fact that they cannot afford to live day to day nowadays.
And you think that would translate into some votes in the midterms?
Yeah. So
awesome. Well, that's all the time we have, Cesar. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for joining us.